Oh. There we go. As you can imagine, another week. We had a pretty comfortable week in terms of weather. I feel like there's been kind of an overarching theme this entire season of reports, and it has to do with weather. Whether it's hot, whether it's inconsistent, a number of different things. Just tell you what, this last week was pretty darn nice. We did have one day, Friday morning, I guided out on Waconia. Whew. Dennis, if you're watching, we caught some fish. We caught 20 plus bass, but we played in the wind. We saw a lot of whitecaps. It made it interesting. It limited what we could do. Tell you what, dude, you flat out still caught a whole bunch of fish. Pretty awesome. We're getting a little bit of weather coming through this weekend. We had some rain move through, nothing crazy. We need it though, I tell you what. So weather, it's been kind of good this week. It was beautiful on what day was it? Friday, beautiful day. Sorry, Dennis, Thursday was when we went out. Thursday morning, it got really windy. Slicked out Friday, we caught them on Tonka. It's been pretty consistent. So the weather has kind of been all over the place, but this last week, kind of felt good. Now we're gonna get some really warm weather this next week. If you're looking at the forecast over the next week, we're looking at 90s. I even saw a day where we might see 103 degrees is what they're predicting for Wednesday, I believe, of this next coming week. So can't control the weather. It's one thing we just cannot do. I'm sitting here shooting a report on a Saturday afternoon because tomorrow, Sunday, I'm tied up. And oh boy, it's pouring outside right now. So speaking of weather, as I'm filming this in my garage, it is absolutely raining cats and dogs. So it's just the nature of the beast. So how are we catching our fish? You know, we're catching our fish a ton of different ways. We've caught our fish on moving baits in the morning, whether it's swim baits, chatter baits. We've shown you those techniques the last couple weeks on reports. A little bit of thunder rolling through. Kind of feels nice right now. But I'm gonna talk about jig worms. I did an article on jig worms versus Ned rigs. We're catching a lot of fish on Ned rigs. The Ned ringer, as you can see if you follow me on social media, has been awesome on fish. Now I'm gonna take a step back and we're gonna talk jig worm fishing. We're gonna talk larger profile jig, longer hook, mighty head jig, and how we fish this. Now I put a picture up on social media the other day of a big 8-inch worm on this jig head, and I had people right away go, you know what, that's a lot of meat and potatoes, that's a small hook, big jig, whatever it might be, right? And I understand, I totally get it. It looks gaudy and obnoxious on a picture. But a bass, if you ever watch a bass feed, if you ever see how they intake and disperse the amount of water around them when they pick a bait off the bottom, when they ambush a bait in the fall, they suck in, I don't even know the exact scientific amount, but it's a gallon or so or more of water when they go and suck this in. It's pretty awesome. So that opportunity to fish a larger presentation, a worm this big, it doesn't take much for these fish. They just pound it, they just suck it in, game over. Now we're gonna talk jig worms. So I'm gonna show you 3 ways right now I'm fishing a jig worm. Let's start with that big 8-inch presentation. And I'll show you, I'm threading it on like anything else. There you go, there's your 8-inch worm on a jig head. It's not that big. Now the picture might have made it look a little larger than it is when I posted that picture. It's not that big of a presentation. That falls down. It's more of a triggering mechanism. I can pitch it. I'm working deep weed lines. I'm pitching it into a pocket in the weeds. Now I'm not fishing this bait in 2, 3, 4 feet of water. I apologize for any background noise. It is legitly monsooning outside right now. It is pouring out there and I have the garage open. But this is a pretty good sized presentation, but not overkill. That falls down the weed line. That 8-inch mag worm has that turned tail, so it really kicks out a lot of action. This is not much for a fish, honestly, to pick up. It's not that big of a presentation. There it is. That's the first thing. You can also fish a 6-inch worm, a 7-inch worm, a 5-inch worm, a smaller presentation, same concept on a jig worm. Next, I will fish a straight worm, your Senko, your Kamita. I fish this on a jig head all the time. And I fish this on the jig head because I want to get down quick, I want to get down fast, and I want to be effective. And I thread this on just like I would anything else. put it up to the butt of that. It's a straight body presentation, and that thing is gonna fall and plummet straight down quick. I will fish this around mid-depth to deeper walk weed transition because I want to plummet it right down to the bottom. I want to make contact that entire time, and I'm dancing that back to boat. But this is another type of a jig line. This is going to be my fastest approach for a jig line. If I want to get down quick, if I want to get down effective, I want to make contact with the bottom, I'll pitch this on a lot of my client setups. Very easy to fish and very effective. Option 2. Now option 3 is going to be kind of a hybrid of both. And it's become one of my favorite ways to fish the jig worm. It's that new in the last couple years, Try a Live Crawler from Mr. Twister. It's a straight worm, a little longer than your Cometa, but not quite as long as your 8-inch worm. And it's a straight worm. It's more of a shaky head type worm. And I've caught a pile of fish on this. Same exact concept as the last two on how I'm rigging it. I'm not too exotic. Straight worm, thinner profile, falls a little slower, great action on the drop. I can shake it on the bottom a little different than I can that Cometa. The Cometa is going to hit the bottom and want to lay flat, right? This is going to have a little more neutral buoyancy to where it does a little more action. Now we got hail. We started the video talking about weather. We got straight hail coming down. You can hear that. Hold on. Check this out. Hello, Minnesota. And there's the kids coming in from playing outside. How'd that go, guys? Oh my, oh, round number 2. And where's Ben? Ben's a little tougher. It's hailing in here. We'll get back into the meat and potatoes of this. Brief pause in the action for some hail. Yeah, like I said, the weather, we cannot predict this. What do you think of that, guys? We got hail out there, it's crazy. So that's my third option for a jig worm, is gonna be this setup. Now, we're catching fish on drop shots, on crankbaits, on deeper jigs, on football jigs. There's fish biting all kinds of stuff. Now we're seeing a definite trend shift to deep water schooling patterns. However, I've said this before, and I even said this I think on a couple posts this week. If you want that big bite, you still want to be fishing that hard bottom stuff. You want to be fishing the rock, you want to be fishing the inside weed edge, 6 to 14 feet of water, hard bottom flip. That's when you might get that big bite. So the weed line stuff, numbers of fish, lots of action, having a good time. Water temps are staying in the mid to upper 70s. We're not seeing 80 again. Next week, when I talk to you in a week, I promise you we're back into the 80-degree for surface temp with how warm it's going to be. Some tips for this week: sun shirts, hydrate, sunscreen, nutrition. It's going to be hot. It's going to be dangerously hot if you're on the water. Guys, that's some legit hail. That's like marble size hail. Hydration, nutrition, pick the right time of day to fish. If it's my opinion, early morning, late at night, not during the heat of the sun when it's going to be 100 degrees or mid 90s. So that's what I got. We got some weather coming in. It's going to be a fun week to be on the water, but stay hydrated. Fish the first 3 hours of light. Go out there, have a good time, and we'll catch you next week.